I'm David, and this is David Talks.
And I'm Dave, back on David Talks. Okay. You in the old school vibes right now?
Oh yeah, is it? Kinda, something like that. I want to give a shout out to my little nephew. That's my big nephew, Brian Jr. Thanks for that share. I also want to give a shout out to my little cousin, my big cousin, Gary Jr. Yeah, so this song is a historical song. This song was in 1967.
1967. The only thing I think about 1967 is a Corvette. Stingray.
Stingray?
Yeah.
Corvette?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the horsepower on that. What was it, like 750?
765.
Yeah.
For stock, it was like 460.
Classic.
You put this on for a reason, right?
Oh yeah, I put it on. I mean, I put it on. If you listen to the words, stop listening.
It gave me sentimental. That's why I'm like, yo, what's good?
I mean, we're gonna get into the song in a minute. I'm gonna get my diaper wars. Ready for that?
Hold on, man. Let's just hit the last verse, man.
Alright.
Yeah. Good. Your diaper war better be crazy if you play this song.
Well, you know,
it gotta be something like, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting diaper war, I would say.
I'm ready to get into it for sure.
You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's get it.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Who disturbed your peace, man?
What disturbed my peace was this here is like deja vu, the situation with the writing, you know, because a lot of people don't realize, but in 1967, you had 150 riots. You know, Cincinnati, Newark, New Jersey, New York City, Buffalo, New York, California. We had a lot of riots, and they were fighting for the exact same things that we're fighting for right now. Exactly the same thing. So 53 years ago, right? Because we 2020.
Dang.
53 years ago, we were literally fighting for the same exact things that we're fighting for today.
Yeah, half a century.
So you got, see the thing is, we need to take a couple of things into consideration. How to not repeat that 50-year ago type situation where it was just subdued until they were ready to dumb the population down. And when I say the population, I mean the population. I don't mean just black people. You got to dumb down everybody in order for people to just kind of assume or hope for the best. We need watchmen. We need to make sure that the schools are being checked. The education is being checked. We're teaching the truth. We can't just let things go or say anything like it's going to take time. Because that don't work. It don't work at all. So that's the reason why I played this particular song, because of the year, and I know a lot of people heard this song before.
Right. It represents that open up your ears type vibes.
Exactly. It's a hidden message.
Right in the There's any windows in there too.
It's called Buffalo Springfield, by the way. In case anybody's curious about the name of this song.
It gives you though that early, that late 60s, but really that early 70s feel. I guess it represents like a revolution type of thing. And I think that's where we're kind of heading to now. What do you think is going to be that anthem? Who do you think is going to bring that anthem of now?
Well, that's the thing. I think the games is over now, and it really should be a situation with equality. And I get and I understand where a lot of people in history kept reminding us, and I know a lot of us just wanted to forget. A lot of us, if we would have talked about this a year ago, nobody would want to listen to this. Absolutely not one person will be interested in anything like this because everybody feels like we're good.
Right.
You
That's
know, we got good music. You know, we got all this latest technology. We got stimulus checks.
Hush money, man.
That's exactly what it is. Hush money. Because see, the more upset people begin to get, the more problems. What is it? Oh man, problems. See, since this protest rioting, since this quote unquote coronavirus, I gotta say that, which by the way I got tested for, and thank God I came out negative. You know.
I mean, like,
What do you think?
Kind of wanna. I just think that we all need to get to the level of, you know, developing antibodies to kind of fight it. You know what I mean? I think that's what the government is trying to like slow down everyone catching it, because I think it's inevitable that we all catch it.
I mean, we always touching surfaces and passing germs.
Touching
I don't
face.
see how anything like that could be prevented, especially with. And by the way, speaking of that, Governor Cuomo said that, you know, a lot of people were, you know, because it was said that Asians brought this here. Governor Cuomo said on national television, international as well, it was actually Europeans that brought it here. So it's just how information gets distributed. It's almost like everybody's looking for someone to blame, so they could feel like as long as it's not them, because
like they didn't bring the cooties.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't. You know,
it wasn't me. Funny.
And so my diaper goes to those sneaky politicians, those sneaky people behind the scenes,
government officials,
but I'm gonna say people with a lot of money that get together and literally plan how to keep racism alive. That's why I said we need watchmen. We need people to watch people to make sure things are corrected properly and enforced 100+%, and especially the education.
So what do you think is going on now behind the scenes that civil rights is like the forefront? Because usually we get distractions away from civil rights and equality and stuff like that. Kind of feel like this is the forefront now. Do you think it's just out of their control, or do you think it's a distraction for something else?
I totally believe it's a distraction. I totally believe that there's plan Z and probably even more alphabets than that to counteract this situation. And I believe a lot of people don't realize the economics, which by the way, in case you guys don't realize how important it is to educate yourself on economics, you will realize where it first started. The very reason why slavery was created was because of economics. That's why they brought slaves over to America, for that very reason.
So you think that they're trying to reinvent a different kind of slavery?
Well, it's already slavery masked with the wages that people are getting paid to not be able to even live properly.
Right.
People have 3 jobs. Literally, I've had 3 jobs.
Mm.
I literally broke records at companies working over 100 hours in a week. I'm not complaining about it. I just realized.
Yeah, that's not really living your life. That's just.
Or I literally slept on my desk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
I literally, had a blow up bed in my office. Because that's how many hours I was working. And that was just at one job. I did 100 hours. I still worked other jobs.
Yeah, that's zombie stuff right there.
That's just another story in itself. But the economics began with slavery, and so the farming, right? We already know about the cotton is just the tip of the iceberg. That's where it started. This country would have not been nowhere near as successful financially without the slavery.
No, I mean, yeah, you got free labor from, for hundreds of years, generational. So it's like, I don't know if any other country could afford to pay any, that much labor, get that much labor out of it, and then produce more laborers.
Well, I mean,
it's beyond that, but
No, you're right. And then even white people were still, they was at that same level, but they had a choice. You either make black people do this or you do this. And they were actually on the farms making sure that the black people, our people, were doing what they needed to do.
Right.
They weren't getting paid much more.
Well, they was getting paid something, but yeah, you're right.
They were getting paid, they had a house, and this was what they knew, and this is all they did. And they were afraid.
But that's the thing, I feel like that's how people are now. Like, even a lot of people that support Trump, their living conditions, to me, is not, it's not for me to judge how other people live. But I see some very horrible living conditions, And these are people that expressed hope and change in their lives. It's not like they're okay with certain things, but they express Trump will bring them jobs. He'll bring back the coal industry. He'll bring back this and that. He'll get rid of illegal immigrants and provide more jobs for them. But he hasn't made up on any of those promises, any of them.
That's true.
But yet they still support him. They have this hope for him. But I feel like he's in the same predicament as a lot of those guys on the fields managing, slaves. But I kind of feel like we're still in that same mentality, just reinvented. But now I'm feeling like it's they have to reinvent the hold on us because it's breaking. And I do think the pandemic wasn't planned, but I think it woke a lot of people up. Like it slowed everyone down because now they're home, they could think. They could get some real rest. They get to know their children, know their parents, know their spouse, know their partners. And people took a look at their life like, what are we doing here? Some people want to go back to their normal lives because it's hard to face the truth. It's hard to face, their own realities. So they kind of want to go back into that battery mode. But I think a lot of people, most people, are kind of waking up. And I think they're just tired of it. And the civil rights stuff, I think it was just a spark of, something to get behind. It's bigger than race to me. It's bigger than race. It is race, and that is important. I think it's classism. It's a lot of things that go into it. But I think a lot of people in power, like you suggested, are trying to pin everyone against each other and make it in a way that it's not. And I've seen a lot of people expressing their fatigue about these issues, and I'll be the one to say, if you guys are tired of hearing about these things, imagine how tired we are as black people or minorities living it daily, So it's wearing me out. It's depressing to me because it's like, even places I want to escape, I hear it, but it's like I can't be selfish. I'd rather endure this kind of, scrutiny of sitting and being okay with this now than in the future have my children and my children's children deal with this.
Absolutely. I think yes. You first off, you said some very powerful things, and I appreciate what you're saying, and there's so much truth to it. Um, and I do also see it. I see people from both, or I would say black and white for now. Um, Family members turning off the news, social media, um, just hibernating, literally afraid to come to the city. They, in their imagination, what's happening is in the city, and they're afraid. They're very afraid, and I'm talking about like really creative and like highly intelligent people are afraid to like even live their dream because they're afraid of this. They're afraid to be seen. They're afraid to live.
Right.
And I also see it with white America as well. You know, you got them so afraid, and they're afraid of their losing their privilege, which you mentioned, and just feeling that ego, you know, that we all tend to have from time to time, that feeling that I'm special,
right,
kind of thing, and I feel like they feel threatened by that, which is why they think somehow, you know, the I'm gonna say the smoke and mirrors that some of our leaders give them to follow empty promises. Ultimately, it's in their best interest to keep things the way they are, because financially, I think is in the billions, the high billions. I forget the exact number of the profit of just the pandemic alone. How can people profit hundreds of billions of dollars within a month's time, within 2 months?
Right. Well, that's
when people are not even supposed to be working.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of bigger things at play, and those are the questions that should be on top of all of our minds. But I think we're exhausted from other things we're dealing with. I think people that are on the side of police officers at this moment are being manipulated as well.
Right.
I think batteries are being put in their back. And for those people that watch this show or any other show, and if you support Trump, I'm not, I had nothing against them necessarily. It's just more of the question of why would someone at that stature of power not denounce police brutality? And it's not even about agreeing with certain things, but I think holistically, as a human being and as a world and earth, police brutality is wrong. So even if you don't agree with everything that's going on in these movements, I think police brutality should be denounced. I think white supremacy should be denounced. You know what I mean? And those things, it seems that it's hard for Trump to do it. And I think what seems more important to him is winning elections. And I guess some people might come up with that excuse to say he needs those people to get his agenda through, and once he gets reelected, his true colors will come out. And I just think that it's just all excuses. I think it's bad that you gotta sell yourself or sell your soul just to win an election. I think it's just dividing the country more and more, and it's gonna be irreparable. Even if it's a sacrifice for the time being, I think it's irreparable. Some people now are really coming out as prejudiced and racist openly now because they just tired of hiding and stuff like that.
That's very interesting.
And it could be negative, but I think it's a positive thing. It's just more or less, where do we go from there?
Wow. And by the way, it's $400 billion so far in profits since the pandemic, by the way.
That's just America too.
And that's just America.
Right.
People think somehow because they're white, somehow they're benefiting from the situation. And the truth of the matter is, at a certain financial level, you're already a slave. and a lot of people don't want to come to grips with the truth. And it's up to us, you know. I've seen different illustrations, but the bottom line is so much more of us, which is why I would say it's possible, right, that this coronavirus situation had a large part of the plan to depopulate the planet. And I know that's a big statement to say, but I've heard it many times. I thought about it. You know, when you have a lot of people, it's hard to control them. You know, and with all of the technology, with the 5G situation, I don't think people realize that there's already technology from satellites to see right in your home, to see exactly what you're doing. There's already technology when you go to the airport and you walk through the scanner, whether it's your bag or your person, they can see right through your items. They can see your skeleton, and it's like,
Shout out to Skeletor.
shout out to Skeletor. He-Man.
He-Man.
Yeah, I gotta go laughing. Yeah, we need that. And you know, with that type of technology, you could only imagine how much power one person can demonstrate. You know, I would say we now know anytime we speak of anything and you look on your phone, whatever we're talking about, advertisement just pops up.
That it was made legal too, right in the midst of all this stuff happening.
Interesting.
So it's like all these things,
distractions.
FBI now it's legal for them to look through your search history without a warrant.
Wow.
These things are just,
wow.
It's happening. But shout out to FBI. I got no problem with y'all. But yeah, it's just a lot of things that's going right by.
Well, it's funny you speak of that, but like even with what's his name, Clinton,
right?
You know, everybody was focused on the Monica Lewinsky situation, and when everybody was having the audacity, the nerve to pass judgment on him and use an excuse, but he's the president and he's held to a higher standard, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he's still human like you and I. They was focusing on the sexual act that happened between him and the secretary, while everybody was talking about that in the news, how controlled it was. They made it legal wiretapping to listen to your phones.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they're more mad about what he does on the side than people actually listening to conversations. I don't think people really use their heads when it comes to certain
things. A lot of people think about it and they go, "Oh, I ain't got nothing to hide." But that's not the point. You're losing your liberties.
Yeah,
you're losing your freedom.
Your control.
That's a form of slavery, by the way.
There's a show called Westworld. For those who never heard of it,
just thinking about it.
Go watch Westworld, man. It's a great show. It talks about society and the future and kind of like projecting where people's lives go. But a lot of what's going on now, I don't want to do too many spoilers on the show, is data, which data is important. And it's collected so much that they know what you're going to do based on your shopping history or based on your TV history. They just have a collection of information on you, a collection of data, which happens to this day. It happens now that they kind of steer your life where they want it to go. And it's already predicted.
What country do they have they have a system where it's if they like you?
It's China.
China, right? They already have that system, which, by the way, is the similar system to Westworld.
Yeah, I mean it's similar, but we already deal with that, like in social media. Based on certain likes. So the backlash to certain social media is trying to combat that is to take likes away, but then you have the outcry of people saying, who cares about social media? Who cares about likes? They do. It's important to them because it's revenue to them. you should care. You shouldn't care about likes, but you should care about who's listening to you, and that's what you should be more outraged about.
That yeah, well, yeah,
Who's
because
listening to you? Who's trying to control what you buy, when you buy it, or what's important to you, what news is important to you. For those that don't realize, whoever's on the left side or more to the left side of politics, it's an algorithm for you to only see things that support what you're thinking, and then the same goes for the right. So right now, if you guys think that people on the right side, or Republican or conservatives, are seeing all of the news and like they're the bad guys, no, their perspective of what's going on in the world is centered around them, and all that's technology. All that's because you're being listened to, you're being recorded at all times. Your phone and your search history is being used in an algorithm. It's kind of just crazy.
well, it's true, and if it's everyone. I wouldn't say everyone, but most of us understand how it mentally feels when you don't have a job.
Mhm.
You get depressed. You lose self confidence. Your fear of being judged. Um,
And that has to do with lack of self purpose. And I think the powers that be, right, they found a way to combine self purpose and working. And just, it being a societal norm to shame someone for not having a job. And then that's kind of primal too. You want to be a provider for your family and whatnot. But I think it's a difference between being a provider and then being a battery, especially if, being a provider for your family is taking you away from your family, not attending to them in the right way, mentally, emotionally, even being physically there. It's like, it's a double negative.
well, absolutely, because you have situations where a man, well, let's say it this way first, a woman doesn't, not all women, but some women, good women, bad women in general, they don't want to be with a man. First question is, what do you do for a living? Now, I understand that, women has been taken advantage of in that aspect financially, where they feel that they was always giving, but they never received. And I can understand that, and then the relationship doesn't work out for whatever that reason may be. And that pressure of wanting to meet those standards alone is like mental anguish.
Well, yeah, and I think that has worked for so long, for such a period of time. But I also have seen this new wave of women that are very independent in a positive manner. It's not such a negative connotation on it. It's like, I want to just take care of myself and be able to provide for me and my own. A lot of women decide to adopt and not even start a traditional family. A lot of men decide to. I think we're living in a time that we're not doing traditional moves and having traditional families. So I've seen this new wave. New York is a lot different from the rest of the world, but women doing what they want to do by themselves, be self-sufficient, and I think the powers that be is losing control of where to steer these women or these men that want certain things. Like in, let's say, the 60s or the 40s. Let's say the 40s, although they put out ads of diamonds are diamond is a girl's best friend.
Yeah.
And that's an ad. That was an ad for someone selling diamonds.
Right.
That are technically worthless. And if you guys really look into your history, diamonds aren't really worth nothing. But it's a business.
It's just a nice shiny rock.
It's a shiny rock. It's compressed. Look up history. Don't take my word for it. But they're basically worthless. But so we have a horrible history in Africa with it, in different countries around the world, but mainly Africa. And they promoted that to a certain to Central America, and they knew what to put on to that. I think now, and a lot of men, especially in Central America, feared the evolution of women, and they were afraid of not knowing what to put in front of them. You know what I'm saying? And I think all of these things happening at once now,
Right.
where people are getting more educated, which
Right.
seems to be the common theme of all of these episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and your show in general, to be self-educated.
Thank you.
I think that's causing chaos, you know, and they have to find other ways to steer the people in a certain direction, because once people lose that need for something, material things, whether it be a bag or some kind of design or something, I think it's gonna be harder to control people.
Well, yeah, for sure. I know, you know, like when they took a lot of jobs and they moved a lot of factories, car factories, Detroit, for instance, different parts of the country. A lot of people, a lot of black men as well. I would say black men mostly. The only skills they knew were with their hands. They didn't have any other skills. So that depressed them. That made them drink. You know, that made them commit crimes. And a lot of people say, well, you know, you got choices. When you don't feel too good about yourself, you begin to care less and less.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is systemic, man. All of that is systemic racism, man. And
oh, absolutely.
It goes beyond racism. It goes to classism, but unfortunately, because of the way America works, it's easier for a white person to rebound from those situations. They can kind of rely on family and generational wealth and different connections, and
not to mention the way they sell the GI Bill for the veterans. You know, they sold, you know, because because of the mental brainwashing, they were proud and they didn't want to accept any help. So they said it's not a hand-me-down. It's to just get you back on your feet, welcome you back into the world, and set you up, you know, aka public assistance. And I know a lot of people, I know a lot of black people even look down on other black people, or you know, for still receiving public assistance. They've been on it for so long, and there's different reasons. You know, there's a lot of mental health issues with a lot of people. Again, a lot of self-esteem issues. It's all related. Like you said, classism, racism. You know, when people don't feel good enough about themselves, even the writers, like they feel like, hey, I can get ahead if I, you know, and that all depends which writer, right? So you have writers that's destroying things, they taking statues down, and then you have people that feels like, oh, let me get this TV, or because they don't feel good enough inside. Is why they're missing the point. They're not focused and educated properly, you know, and that's on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know me, I'm the guy that I'm on both sides. Like me personally, because of my situation, I'm blessed enough not to have to steal a TV from the store, and not that I ever would have to or want to, but you know, I'm the type of guy that I don't think it needs too much justification. Just recently they got a video of like 100,000 worth of products and stuff stolen from a mall in Florida, and they're going crazy about it. They're trying to like, you know, create a narrative about it. Even the main clips are showing just mainly black people. And then I seen other footage of it, and it's everybody. There's no real main color, but it's just the news is just, or even World Star. It's just they focus on certain things, and I'm not embarrassed or nothing about it because I know better and I'm educated. But a lot of people are misled, you know, and gaslit, and just, you know, even if you don't agree with the protesting at all, I'm not even just talking about the rioting. Even if you don't agree with the movement, I think people are smart enough to know when they're being gaslit. I just think they're choosing not to see it, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if you show black people, you have white people that are afraid. You have black people that are afraid too.
Well, it's designed to shame black people, to separate. Oh, we're not with them; they're animals. And shout outs to Trina, right? Because Trina came out and said, "Oh, you guys that are stealing and destroying things, y'all all animals." So she's referring to black people, and I don't agree with that. I think that's just
again, you know, God bless her, and I'm happy for her success financially. However, she's not properly educated, with all due respect, to understand the big picture.
yeah. For her to call people animals, I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
So
I think she was, and I'm not making any excuses, but like most people are misinformed, uninformed.
she's my diaper award, by the way.
She's
You
a
know,
diaper
that was
award?
like last week.
Oh yeah, my diaper award. Well, you know, I'm gonna give her like 2.5, because we have to be accountable for our own actions. I believe it's up to her to educate herself and understand what's really going on around her. You know, and understanding that if she thinks that her own people were animals, if she was to ever check any history from like the 1800s up to now, she would realize all the many, and I mean many massacres from white people killing black people. So many.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
And then you could really ask yourself that question, and then you could ask yourself if taking a couple TVs from a mall is really that bad. And then they made it such. This is the part that really infuriates me, man. They said 100,000 worth of products from the store like it was anything, like it was money, like it was really like if they didn't, you know, light a couple cars on fire, it would have equaled the same amount of damages. And it just, to me, is like, what, now they're gonna do investigations and catch who's on camera and stuff like that. And so I wanted to mention that it was Ice Cube, the rapper, shout outs to Ice Cube, said that he'll pay off whatever, like over 100,000 for all the products if they don't charge anybody. So shout outs to Ice Cube. You know, I think that's really admirable, and I think he's kind of looking at it like, I'd rather pay my money than these people do years in prison because they don't have nothing. If you don't have nothing, if you had all these things, and if you would live, you wouldn't be going out here to steal the TVs. It's designed like that, and so for people falling for that whole trick of and this is not even me justifying these actions. It's not even that. It's just more like, you guys are outraged about these things, and you guys should be outraged about other things that are happening around the world. And
let me give my five diapers to those people behind the scene pulling strings. That's been pulling strings for hundreds, if not longer, years to keep societies, not just America, but societies in that slave mentality and putting fear in people's minds. You know, killing people, you know, JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, killing people, killing leaders to put fear in people's hearts because they start talking about reparations. You know, and as long as every single person is talking about reparations, then they'll just have to kill all these slaves, right? You know, we have to just get rid of it and just stand up and demand, you know, a decent amount of wages to be able to comfortably support our families.
Well, that's what they don't want that for nobody, man. To be able to wait out and say, you know what, we're not gonna work, we're not gonna do this, and we're not gonna, you know,
$406 billion in 2 months could help pay people wages for many years and over. You know, that greed alone is just absurd.
You can make millionaires across America.
It's pretty disgusting.
It could be crazy. Like,
yeah, we could live in a completely different situation altogether, and just because someone is so greedy, they don't want that. You know, and you know, I think we need to start paying attention more. Even when we're angry, we need to start, again, educating, learning about the newest technologies coming out, learning about the new ways that politicians want to do things, and the new laws, and we need to get apps and find out when laws are being made. They have to let the people know. They have to announce it. They have to put it on our phones. We should have choices, and we should be properly educated to understand what exactly is going on before these policies and legislation and laws. We need to understand what that means and how it affects us. individually, as a group, as a community, etc., etc., etc. It's very important, and you know, um, I know some people might say to themselves, "Well, you're talking about the 1800s." I mean, 1921, for instance, in Tucson, Oklahoma. You know, you had a very thriving, and this goes out to whomever say, when they say things like, "Go get a job," stop blaming the white man, um, you know, things of those natures.
Those are very dismissive statements, by the way.
That comes from someplace. People are afraid. People don't have confidence in themselves because it's been told to them. Families would tell, other family members anytime they're trying to do anything to progress in life,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's buy a house, pay a higher rent in a quote unquote safer neighborhood, or whatever the case may be. A lot of times, family members would say, "That's kind of expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You sure you need that?
Yes,
I don't need to be rich. I just need to have enough." What's enough when you're working for a paycheck to pay your bills and you barely have enough money?
Mm-hmm.
You understand that type of mindset is not your own. That's not even your idea. You wasn't the first person to say, "I don't need to be rich."
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't the first person to say, all I need is just a certain amount of money. Not everybody. That's not your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't the first person to say any of that. That's been said to you. You've heard that before, and you decided to adapt it. You decided to accept it. You decided to settle because it was heard before.
And I think it's also promoted in a way that you feel like a good person for it.
Oh yeah,
you feel like you're not greedy, or you're not infringing on happiness, because money isn't what makes you happy.
I mean, I've heard it in church.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people might get offended. "Oh, you talking about God?" No, I'm talking about people that have said this in church. Money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, I've heard that my whole life.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that saying more than any other saying.
But those very same people are the same exact people that will tell somebody, "Well, if they ain't got a job,
Right.
they're a bum.
Yeah.
If they ain't making no money, how they gonna support their family?"
Mm-hmm.
Those are the exact same people, and they don't understand how deep that brainwashing truly is, and how it truly affects the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because people look up to you because they assume that you're successful because you have a nice car, or because you dress a certain way. So they look up to you because you're smiling a lot, and you look clean, and you don't look like other people. So they trust you.
Right.
They trust you. Everything from acting to singers. Once upon a time is successful in how glorified and how worship movie stars and singers are now. People look down on them. Families disowned people that did these type of things that they're doing now because they didn't want to see people get money.
That's crazy.
And then you have people getting mad at celebrities now because they don't speak up for Black Lives Matter. Which, by the way, that's my first time ever even saying that on the show, because that's not the point. You do what you got to do as an individual. It's not up to celebrities. They're not our saviors how you guys think they are. You guys look at them as you look at God. It all starts with you being accountable for your own actions and what you decide to do with you first. That's where it starts. It doesn't start with that person over there.
I mean, it's all like a repetitive cycle and levels of the same stuff. The cool kid in school, the dork, the average Joe, and the average Joe putting down the dork to feel closer to the popular kids, and
exactly
that's just what society to me is looking like. It just
Oh, yeah.
resembles it. I think it's just
And it's definitely spilled, that same mentality spilled over into adulthood, and
Mhm.
adults are doing the same exact thing,
Mhm.
still acting immature, hasn't really
classism
understood
that goes
and
with
got
racism.
wisdom.
Certain races put down other race to just feel better about their own race, and right now is a big thing going on with in Dominican Republic where racism is being faced over there. A lot of people were being pressed on it. A little bit of Puerto Rico. I haven't heard too much on it as much, but it's a lot of hurtful history behind a lot of those things, and
I forget the name of the person, I can't think of it, that created that racism, that division, between the Haitians and the Dominicans. And now the Dominicans are, you know, depending on the color of your skin, they're discriminating against you.
it's weird that happens when Haiti's one of the first independent
Free in countries, that's very
countries.
true.
And it's funny how you can be so powerful and make such powerful moves, and I don't agree with every way they did it to get it, but I just think that it's crazy how people can reverse what you do as a positive into a negative thing, and just make you feel less than, and make you forget the powerful deeds that you have done.
Well, the thing is,
It kind of goes back to what you were saying about racism being more, just being subsided, just kind of stopping in the 60s, and it never stopped. It's more hidden.
but that's another story, and I definitely want to get into that as that story unfolds more.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to get back to the Oklahoma Tucson situation in 1921,
Mm-hmm.
just so people can understand again how we look down and judge our own people, and how white people also that are so afraid, because it was instilled in a lot of them. Because a lot of white and black people, we both are ignorant to these facts. In 1921, Oklahoma Tucson was probably the most thriving community in America,
Mm-hmm.
which they call Black Wall Street. And they had, I've seen footage where they have, beautiful cars, beautiful businesses, barbershops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, buildings and everything. And apparently, what's the kid's name is Dick Roland, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was a shoe shine person, and he was about 19. He was 19 years old. And Sarah, which she worked as a elevator operator, and apparently he was accused of assaulting her.
It wasn't even assaulting, but yeah.
Well, she said that he said that they said that he raped her. This is the another story, but I guess they ain't saying assault. What did you?
It's just a lot of conflicting stories, but I think she accused him of something. It was alleged that he did something way lesser than even a rape, but he didn't even do what it was at first.
Right. At first I heard, and then when I researched more, they had it as an assault.
The reason why I don't say exactly, because I feel like it comes down to like how Candace Owens, right? Candace Owens, she recently just said negative things about George Floyd. And I just think that when people do certain things like that, they try to take away from certain injustices. And like I said 2 shows ago, like, it doesn't matter what he did.
I believe.
What
in
was
that
done
case,
to him was inhumane and wrong. It was against policy. It was just, there's so many things that, however you want to look at it technically, whoever George Floyd was, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? The cop was wrong. He took that man's life slowly, purposely, I believe. And new things are coming out, and she's all that stuff she spoke about. It kind of backfired on her because now it's coming out that they knew each other and they worked together. And
I think she, suffers from self-hate. I mean, I'm gonna say definitely she does, whether she comes to grips with that or not. And I'm not saying that because her husband's white in politics and he's from the UK. Just by me observing and my experience, I believe it's really clear. And I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more, but I just want to finish. Now, Sarah Page, which is 17 years old, supposedly the story has it that she accused him of assault, and a mob of white people from different towns stormed their community, and they stormed it with weapons, and they also used planes with weapons that they dropped on the town. And it just makes me wonder who has a plane to be able to drop weapons on that town. It's clearly organized, and they destroyed $1.5 million in real estate, $350,000 in property, which is like $35 million today.
Inflation, right?
Inflation.
That's crazy.
You had 10,000 people homeless because of that situation. Most of the people left the town, and the people that stood behind was intimidated to keep that to themselves, not ever to talk about that whole entire situation ever again.
See, and that's what kills me about people that say that this is a land of equal opportunity, and I just think it's a slap in the face when people say that. I think it's a slap in the face when people say all lives matter. I think it's a slap in the face when people say blue lives matter. I could get into details with it, but I just, all of those things and all of those statements that people keep bringing up, all of it, means the same thing, and the same thing is that our plight is not important to you.
Well, and let me just be one of many people. The original settlers, the natives, and just indigenous people, what they call it. I'm sure they have their own tribal names. Respectfully, it's not okay. It's not okay that their land was taken from them, which is America. And they were forced out and murdered and worse. Murder is just a nice way of describing how people were killed in the most horrific ways possible. Brainwashing is it's so like strategic and so highly intelligently thought out, I would say, like this, because shows on TV that I've watched, because I was taught the good guy wins at the end, and you want to root for that person, and that makes you feel good because you want to be good, because good is good, whatever that is. And the Lone Ranger, for instance, anybody that, most people know this show. If you don't, look it up. Look, the Lone Ranger is a cowboy. Funny thing about cowboy, the original cowboys were black. The cattlemen were white. And in fact, the cattlemen used to call the cowboys that took care of cows, go get that cow, cowboy. They used to make fun of them. Until the name became very popular, and then all of a sudden they became, I'm a cowboy. Which is different from the Buffalo Soldier. We don't need to get into that right now. Maybe another
But
segment.
cowboys were originally black.
Just so you guys understand that. And I don't want y'all to confuse the Buffalo Soldiers. It's just that's another different aspect of, black. They were the Buffalo Soldiers. So anyway, the Lone Ranger wore a mask.
Good is good.
Right? That's good. You wore a mask, and the indigenous people, which you guys know what they called them, right? They called them Indians and cowboy Indians. We used to give us guns and the mask and the feather, which is so insulting. And you one or the other, just like cops and robbers, one or the other. And the Lone Ranger had, an indigenous person, which they call Indians. Tonto was his best friend, and he was the only one good Indian. And every other Indian were all bad. And this is the kind of brainwashing I'm talking about. And us looking at Indian as almost like a fairy tale, like they never was here. That doesn't even make sense. And and a good thing, because look, they were bad, and we don't know any better, and we're not taught history properly.
Right.
And I say, for those people that's taking down those statues of Christopher Columbus, shout outs to you.
Shout outs to y'all, man.
I can't
They
even
put it back in Boston, and then somebody came back and took the head off.
You see, the thing is that.
But now, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, people are so brainwashed. They think that because they took a statue down, that they're going against America. Like, they're going against some really evil, racist people that want to make a lot of money. They don't care about none of y'all.
And some people will go as far as to say that we're erasing history by taking these statues down.
Unbelievable. You guys are glorifying murderers. Y'all glorifying
rapists.
Tyrants and rapists. That's what y'all glorifying.
Yeah.
Criminals. Y'all
the worst.
Y'all glorifying a person that he landed in the Bahamas first, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. He landed in the Bahamas first.
Yo, man, this
it's so
this is insane, man. I just want to kind of touch on how the same people defending Christopher Columbus statues are the same people saying that George Floyd shouldn't be our hero. Like, you could ever compare the two people, man. That's just crazy.
Look at George Floyd's situation. We don't know this man, but look at the situation. First off,
this is crazy, man.
They talk about black on black crime. Black people and white people.
That doesn't exist, by the way. Okay.
Somebody just Google how many white on white crimes there are. It's gonna be more. And Google every other race. Google every race to see that every race kills each other. So the media is owned by elite people. I'm gonna say, Bill Cosby tried to buy a network. So coincidentally, all this stuff from his past came up, and he ended up in jail.
Yeah,
just gotta throw that in there.
So yeah, it's not like even we're defending what he's alleged of. It's more like this has been public information, not maybe public information, but common knowledge amongst Hollywood. Some stars have spoken about it years before in comedy specials about this plenty of times, or mentioned it in interviews. But it's just kind of weird how it becomes the forefront of a Me Too movement at the time where a black man is trying to buy a main network.
Yeah, because we're tangible, visual creatures that are controlled by what we see, which is why advertisement is such a lucrative business, because advertising is so vital to businesses making astronomical amounts of extra money, or just money in general. I believe, and I'm just gonna say, Michael Jackson. I just want to say that song he made, what was it? All I want to say is that they don't really care about us.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. But I never even knew what it really meant until when I got older. And it's crazy how you can hear a song that's such a blatant statement, but not really feel the gravity until you get to an adult.
It's true, and you know, people brush a lot of things off because they feel like if they get a little decent job, if whatever you want to call a decent job or home,
And they move you into the house.
You fight so hard and you struggle so hard to get to that level, and you really feel this great sense of achievement that, by the way, some people seem to be jealous of. You feel like you're so afraid to lose that you ignore the obvious. And you just focus on that property and that, I would say, level of social standard that you're at, and nothing else is important to you. A lot of people are afraid that they're gonna lose that somehow if, you know, we protest or more. And you know what I'm saying when I say more.
Yeah, I think if, you know, the powers that be are trying to make protesting seem like a crime, then you guys know that something's off, whether you agree with it or not, whether you agree with the protest or not. Those that were protesting against the quarantine, they had the right to do that. I didn't agree with them, but they weren't committing any crimes. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely know what you're saying, man.
And it shouldn't be that people that are fighting for something to me that's more important to me should be labeled as a crime either.
There's some laws that are already put in place that if you come around with a picket sign of any sort, you're banned from the whole entire property, which is absurd. What is that? What is that telling you? People are already prepared to protect their finances. They don't even want to be bothered with your signs.
So one hand, I don't know if you heard, but you guys should definitely look into it. Starbucks banned their employees from wearing anything that represents Black Lives Matter.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I will absolutely, unless Starbucks apologizes publicly, I would never, ever buy anything
I'm done with Starbucks.
to do with Starbucks. I would literally research and find out if Starbucks has any stock in anything, and then I'm not gonna buy that either.
Right. And then on the other hand, which is crazy because you just hear the fireworks outside, is 4th of July is coming up.
Right.
But another holiday that I think we should all start celebrating a lot more is Juneteenth, coming up as well.
Right.
So that was it Nike? They labeled it as a paid holiday.
Beautiful.
For their employees and stuff. So they're just kind of recognizing that. So I mean, it's crazy. Who would have thought that Nike, you know, even though they have so much athletes and stuff promoting their brand, would have such a positive
well, let's talk about the athletes. Most of the athletes are Black.
Right. So and they make most of their money off of Black.
Exactly. That's the least they can do, and they've been active in the Black community for years, and I have noticed that, and I appreciate that a lot.
But it's kind of weird how you see how it's certain high corporate, but they took it back. Starbucks. But I don't care. It's too late. I feel like
they took it back, huh?
They took it back because it was such a crazy backlash.
Honestly, I'm good. For me, I'm gonna wait and listen to it and review it and decide.
Yeah, read the story.
I decide. See, my thing is the audacity that they have to try to take a stand. You know, which I believe is a test for other corporations. You try it first, see how that goes. We're not gonna lose a lot of stock anyway. And then if that works, we'll do it over here and we'll band together. You know, I believe it was a beta test, and I'm good. I'm done with Starbucks. And again, they will have to like pay somebody something. You're gonna have to build a school You're gonna have to build a school with the highest resources of education in the the poorest community in the black community. A couple of them, and then I'll reconsider. And I know some people might laugh and say, "Oh, you're just one person."
Mm-hmm.
It only starts with one person.
It really does start with one person. I think it takes one person to start a revolution. And as cliche as that might sound, history has repeated itself many a time. So.
And I appreciate all those.
By the way, revolution doesn't always have to be violent. Those for you guys that don't understand that. But
That's very true. It's all about education,
Mm-hmm.
changing laws, policies, enforcing them, holding people accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
You change the law, you wrote a piece of paper. I need to know your contingency plan on how to execute enforcing every single policy that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
What is the repercussions of a police officer that kills somebody or chokes somebody?
Mm-hmm.
They should do automatic jail time, and for a long time.
You want to switch the subject?
Absolutely.
Man, God.
Yeah, let's go.
Yo, PS5.
Yes.
They announced it a couple weeks after Xbox. I know we just went the crazy turn, but kind of want to get into it. Did you see it?
I did. It looks amazing.
It looks good, right?
No,
I think
it looks
good
amazing.
too. They got a couple memes on it and stuff.
No, I because I was like saying to myself, how it, because you got Xbox, and I'm like, Xbox, Microsoft, they probably gonna try to come out with something that looks really cutting edge, new technology.
Yeah.
A lot of people have, joked about PlayStation in the past, and I'm like, I think they're ready to just be like, all right, I'm gonna bring it big.
Well, they both out. Xbox looks like a little box. And,
Really?
Yeah, just
I didn't see the
box.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like a GameCube 2.0.
Interesting.
And
I wonder what's the plan behind that.
I think they're just trying to make it look like a tower, like a computer tower, a PC. Try to keep it simple.
Okay.
But PlayStation went more into the
futuristic type.
Yeah, looking like a Elon Musk project or something. But I like it. They make jokes about it and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's funny stuff, man. It's but it's like free promotion because now everyone knows how it looks. Everyone knows it's coming. Memes, people are geniuses. They know what they do.
Nice. I'm curious to know. I guess my favorite, a few of my favorite games, obviously, is Grand Theft Auto 5, Call of Duty, and PUBG.
They just announced Grand Theft Auto 5. This is the part that I'm kind of like, all right, let it go.
5 or 6?
5. They're gonna bring it to the new system now.
It's gonna still be 5.
Yeah, right now.
Oh my goodness gracious.
They gotta let that go. That's my let it go today. I ain't trying to play it again on a third system.
I tell you what, that's your let it go. I'm gonna. It's hard, but I'm gonna say let it go too.
Yeah,
I'm tired of it.
They need a new.
I'm agree with you. Now, speaking of Nike, Drake's come out with his first Nike shoe, right?
That's fine.
Let's go, let it go. I'm gonna say
go.
I'll say let's go too.
Let's go. Shout out to Drake.
Shout out to Drake. Congratulations.
I know I be seeming like the craziest Drake fanboy, but I don't know. I have a feeling that it took so long to come out. All his Jordan collaborations were fire. Well, most of Travis Scott's sneakers are crazy. Kanye West, when he was on Nike, both of those sneakers are amazing. Those are like probably some of the best Nikes ever.
Right.
I think Drake sneakers are gonna be fire. I think they're gonna be,
I mean, I certainly hope so. I
hope it's not no like boot sneaker hybrid though. I'll be upset with that. Don't do that, Drake. Go full Italian Jordan style, something like that.
Well, full Italian, because some of the handmade leather Italian sneakers, like
don't give us elf shoes.
Yeah, those things ain't even.
Don't give us boot sneakers.
Those things
give us some. Come on, man. I think they're gonna be fine.
Oh, Nike. I think between Nike and Drake, and the influence. I gotta say the influence.
They gotta put it.
What's that?
They gotta put it against the Yeezys. The Yeezys are looking crazy now.
The Yeezys are a beautiful, weird sneaker.
But it's amazing, and they're always comfortable.
Weird is not always a bad thing.
Right.
It's a beautiful, weird sneaker.
He's changed. Kanye West has changed the direction of all sneakers. Even the Balenciagas, every sneaker that's been coming out.
Shout out to Kanye, and I know people
It's
are mad at you, bro.
But
yeah, I heard about his donation. He donated, and he was at a couple of marches, or at least one. I've seen him.
But you see, that's why I'm with that. That's fire. That still doesn't mean that I can't be upset with him.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well,
but shout out to Kanye though.
I think I'm not speaking for Kanye, but I think that Kanye is calculating his moves. I'm gonna say it like that. I think he has an agenda,
but he is a person that I can say represents someone that can support someone you don't necessarily. Doesn't mean he's not gonna do the right thing. So if he supports Trump still, I'm not really sure if he still does. That's his prerogative.
Well, I think it's hard. I think
that's not negative. That's not necessarily a negative thing to a lot of people.
I think it's hard for him to, in his heart, to truly support him, especially now. But
that's my problem with certain people.
If he does, I'm gonna say that it must be some type of genius strategy that he got going on.
They got a couple theories out here, but
otherwise it would make sense. I don't want to give away what I really think it's all about. My personal opinion, but
I'm with the let's go for them sneakers though, for sure.
Let's go, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, I guess we wrapping up.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, I got a question.
What's that?
I need y'all to comment if we're gonna put it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it on YouTube.
Are we still doing a barbecue for July 4th, or are we doing a Juneteenth thing? Somebody gotta inbox me or something. What's going on with that?
That's interesting. You know what? I'm gonna celebrate. I'm definitely celebrating it.
How do you feel about celebrating July 4th when we feel like this as a country? And me personally, I feel like I'm a little overwhelmed now because it's scars that we kind of have to face. But I think I always feel this way. I think now it's just more of a collective thing.
Yeah, I think that it should be promoted a lot more. 4th of July is like something that people just know is a household name, and I think we need to change that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to acknowledge,
freedom of the slaves, man.
Even though we're not, and we were never really truly freed, which is something. I don't want to get too heavy again, but and we could get back on that another time
for sure.
But until people are paid again a decent salary, and they're not working 8 hours, 5 days a week, which I've always been against. When you don't have time to be with your family,
or yourself,
or even yourself, it's true. The traveling time alone, and preparing and going to the cleaners and getting your clothes ready for work. That time alone before you even get into work, and then having your mind in work before you get there, and having work on your mind after you
we wrapping it
work.
up. Your Apple, come on.